So we just heard from South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. He was at the White House today having lunch with President Trump. He says they met for about 2 hours talking about Syria and also the government shutdown. Lindsey Graham said that he left the meeting feeling encouraged. At the same time, though, he said President Trump is firm in his commitment to make sure there is money for border security / a wall. He talked about the wall being used as sort of an all-encompassing term for border security. He said, though, that he felt in his discussions with the president that they talked about the importance of a deal, because he said there is no way that they are going to be able to get 60 votes in the Senate without giving something up for the Democrats as well. He said, though, despite that, again, he left this meeting feeling very encouraged. At the same time, though, he said he could not say when this shutdown might end. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
What I mentioned today is an outline of a potential breakthrough would be $5 billion for wall / border security, the Bridge Act, and TPS reform. I think that's in the realm of possibility.
So TPS, that would be temporary protected status. That's something that can be given to individuals who are here, who are not U.S. citizens, who for whatever reason it is unsafe, they are unable to return back to their home country. He also talked a lot about the Bridge Act, which is an act that, or a piece of legislation that was initially introduced and drafted by Lindsey Graham and also Senator Dick Durbin, that dealt with Dreamers, DACA recipients who had already received work authorization and temporary relief from deportation. Senator Graham said that when he talked about those types of deals, perhaps those back and forths, that the president said interesting, though he did not commit to anything here. Also, Syria was a topic at this lunch today. Senator Lindsey Graham, of course, has been a strong critic of President Trump's decision to withdraw troops from Syria. The South Carolina senator saying that he learned things today that made him feel better about where things are headed in regards to Syria.
I think the president has come up with a plan with his generals that makes sense to me. The goal is to make sure ISIS doesn't come back. We left Iraq too soon. We had them on the ropes in Iraq, left too soon. I think the president's very committed to making sure that when we leave Syria, that ISIS is completely defeated and we're inside the 10-yard line.
You know, I asked Senator Lindsey Graham, I said, not that we're not happy to see you over here, but he, of course, is a Republican and not a Democrat. And we've heard from Democrats that they have not been invited to the White House really in the last week for these negotiations. I asked why a Democrat wasn't with him today and if any had been invited. And Senator Graham said it's difficult for Democrats to come to the White House when they're vacationing in Hawaii.